What's going on, everybody? Happy Hump Day. TA here from Leading Crypto. I'm CVO, joined by Magic Internet Money and Burr Max. And as always, we try to come to you live Monday through Friday around 10 a.m. Eastern to go over everything crypto in the market, right? So we're taking a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and the DXY, SPX, some order flow, and open interest as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to like and subscribe to the video. Stay through to the entire thing. And we're just going to kick it right off. So Magic, if you'd like to start with some Bitcoin, my man.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's get the whole screen up here and we'll get rolling. Yeah, so Bitcoin, fairly simple idea. I'm going to get rid of this real quick. It's just not necessary for what we're looking at. You had a nice move off of our key level here at 16,611. We've been kind of hammering this level home to you guys over and over and over for the past week or two now. You've come back, you swung fell yesterday. We talked about getting down into that gold pocket. That golden pocket was actually front run by just a few dollars, which did front run my entry actually. So I ended up gaining an entry on a reclaim of the VWAP here at about 16,656 on this impulse up. But after you swung fail these lows, you can see that you're finding your way back above the level, as you should, right? You go down to the 5 minute and you can see exactly what starts taking place. You get the swing fail, higher low, higher low, higher low. Daily open comes in, and this is when price starts to take off. You get back above the VWAP here, 654 at the time, and above the daily open. And what you're expecting at that time is this move into this 16,919 to 16,824 region. There's an NPOC here at 16,819. So this is the box we've been targeting, that as long as you're above this level here, you can make that move. Now you'll notice I have another blue box here. That is basically just like a market structure thing. So it's one, your local gold pocket. And then two, you can see that this is like I call it the B leg. It's just letting you know where the potential range is at. It's still up to you to trade this accordingly in the sense that you need to be able to use other tools. And I bring this up because I get questions about harmonics in my DMs. Guys, do not trade off of these ideas solely. You cannot trade off of these by themselves. You do have to have other means of determining whether or not you should take that trade. If you can't do that, I would maybe take a step back and revisit the academy. That's what I would say. Trading solely off of these is not going to bring you the success that you might think. So it will bring you some, but the idea behind them is just I'll help you identify where the pivots in the market are going to be at. And this is the B leg pivot right here. So what you want to see is this level holding. It does also line up with I believe the current weekly point of control if we were to look at it. And if we were to take an overall value area in terms of this move up, right? So you can see there is your developing weak point of control. And then if you were to go ahead and take a look at this from a standpoint of just the overall move here from that structure, you can see it's also your value area high right here. So currently you are bouncing from the weekly value area high and also coming in through I believe it's the previous day high is just above this level as well. So you do have some support here that you are bouncing from, getting that test. Now, if you find your way back below the previous day high, I would be looking at this probably to come back down and, test into this gold pocket and this point of control here. And then from there, we can play the game of, is this going to see a further retracement or will this reclaim some levels and continue the march up? One thing to talk about now that we are in this realm, you're at resistance. So this isn't the greatest place to be looking for longs. Obviously, you should expect to pull back. If we started losing like the current daily open at 16,659, yeah, the uptrend looks to be a bit in jeopardy. You're probably going to take out 16,611 that's just below it, which has been that key level. And then that's when you start to look down to the bottom of the range again. You'll also be below the yearly open. We talked about that yesterday and the importance of that level. And that's when things start to look a little bit worse. And you can see that the overall point of control of the range actually does come in at 16,555. So that's the one level I have on this chart. It's all predicated off of this guy right here on ATAS, 16,555, right? So that's telling me as long as we're above this level on a closing basis, things are okay. I personally wouldn't want to come back down to here now after making this move, but it's not out of the question by any means. But as long as you're above this, pressure is on into this resistance. You start breaking back down. First sign of weakness is going to be losing this box, then daily open, etc. You start to look back down to the lows of the range, and this all looks like a scam pump, as people like to call it in the space. But if you can get back above and start putting pressure onto this 900 region, $17,000 region, because that is going to be your monthly pivot, right? We'll go ahead and bring that number over. The only thing you need to be aware of is you have a single print just above. For me, the numbers were 17,095 to 17,302, which does put you into the range highs, which would make sense because you're above the point of control. You're above the time point of control of the range, which has shifted up. I'm sure Max can go into detail about, what that means when you have a TPO POC above the volume point of control. And you're looking for that move into this region potentially. It doesn't look good if the TPO POC is shifting up, the volume's down below, and you're failing to break out though and actually make the move. It does look like it'll then come back down, right? So it does need to start getting continuation, in my personal opinion, and get through this single print. And if you get through the single print and things get really wild, you could see the quarterly pivot all the way up to like 17.8, but that's out of the question for right now, just because we're working off of the local levels. And what I would do is I would mark off my local highs here, near this monthly pivot, near this single print. And you can see 17,048. And you could see probably another one right here if you wanted to mark it off. And just that way you have it for swing fails. You could mark these and put alerts there right near the pivot. You move into this, you get the swing failure. You can then trade it back down to the nearest support, wherever that may be for you, depending on what kind of trading you do. So that would be the trades that are available. And that is why I got long yesterday. Looking for a long. I've been hunting for one, is what I've said. I have hit take profit one. I am going to leave some of it to run because it's a pretty low risk position, meaning that my entry is good. My invalidation is pretty clean. So I've already paid for fees. If it does come down here and take me out, I'm not going to lose any money on fees at that point. So it's kind of a risk-free trade, I guess, in this case at this point. So I would love to see this get continuation. But if it doesn't and it comes back down and we lose these levels, I'm head short from higher. So it's one of those things where it's kind of a luxury position at this point where I can pick and choose which trades I want to take going forward. Now, if we got like a swing fail up here of these levels, I might consider opening a separate short in a different account because I did miss this one right here. I didn't catch this SFP of the high, which I don't know if Max did or not. I know he was going live later in the session, so I think that might have already occurred before he was up this morning. I guess it's technically evening for him there, but I don't think I have anything else on Bitcoin. Pretty simple stuff, guys. I'll turn it over to Max and let him go through what he's got on the order flow.
I did not catch that SFP. It's prime time at the gym. You know the reasons. I will not get into them here.
Oh, man.
Max is also on the hunt.
Yeah, he's on the hunt to get long if you feel us.
The MILF hunt, middle of the day. It came in at slap bang at 12, and that's the best time to go hunting. But anyway. You can see up here, you've put me off. Get me all worked up. You've got up here, you had a lot of buyers coming in. Now, we've been telling you all week, actually since last Wednesday. So for a whole week, we've been telling you, this is now that we want to take shorts from. It's a big area of resistance. When you come up here and you zoom in on the order flow, you can really spot that all the increases in open interest, which is where positions entering, are on heavy market buying. So here, granted, it's not too much. I will mention that, but that's the way things have been in the past few months in the market. 600K there. You've got a few million there. Another million here. You've got some shorts here, and then some more buying taking place. But overall, I think I counted it in the live trading session. It's about $4 million worth of longs that have entered in this region aggressively, in a region where you shouldn't be entering long. So, with all that said, that's kind of why you're getting the trickle down. We also went over the SFP, how one could have identified that, this wasn't going to be the breakout to take you through the daily level that we've got. Just a touch higher. Let me pull over one of my trading view charts, actually. Voila. We actually didn't tap the daily. Magic, I just want to mention to you, if you're listening, I also didn't get my final TP. Guess which level we forgot? If I scroll down somewhere and I find my levels, we completely forgot the weekly open. The weekly open is where it effectively bounced from, which is absolutely gutted because I had my final TP at the golden pocket, and it was the week open. I had all my like daily levels hidden, and it was from there. So gutted on that one. But anyway, besides the point, I'm going to hide that again and get rid of that golden pocket. It came to me when you were talking. We went over it in the live training session. But yeah, the SFP that you've had, the move up into it was a weak move. You can see you've not got any real buys coming in this move. Now, if you look at the delta on the other attempts, this one here, you had very high delta, positive delta going into the move. So, granted, the open interest wasn't there, so the move wasn't sustained. But even on this attempt, you've got significant delta coming into the charts. Whereas when we had the SFP of the highs, even in the build-up, you knew if you were using order flow, this wasn't going to be the one. And the fact that it gave you then the setup of the SFP was just like the cherry on the cake. You can see in the build-up, you've got decreasing open interest on this candle here with negative delta. And in the next candle, just the one just before, you've got only 25k positive delta. That is minimal. It might as well be nothing. So you've had a complete battle here for market superiority between the aggressive buyers and the aggressive shorters. Normally, you see heavy buying going into the region. We had nothing going on here. There was no reason for this to break out. And then it was a very fast move. I had the alert when I was at the gym, but then by the time I looked at my phone, it was down here again. But you could see, I was speaking to someone, the other group, about positions changing hands. I wouldn't really say this is it because of the wicks, but you definitely would have had some take place here when you came up and took the highs. You can tell by the fact that we had open interest go up, which would have been probably market buyers coming in, and then a sharp decrease as shorts stopped out. You can see 759k there, 870k there as you took the high. So this is a lot of market buying with open interest not really following suit. So what that means is, these traders that were taking short on the other side of these market buys, because obviously when a open interest increases, for open interest to increase, you need a market buy and a market short. You need two contracts. If it's a market buyer, there is also a short on the other end of that, and that creates the increase in open interest as that extra contract comes into the market. However, when you have it stagnating, like it is here where it's flat, it shows you that one contract, one person's left, yet instead of it decreasing, someone else has taken that contract over, which is what you had here with the shorts taken out. And then once they've built that position, we were going over this just a minute ago, so it's quite fresh to talk about. So once they've taken over that position, you then want to see them show their hand, show their bigger, whoever it is that's taking that trade, normally a much bigger position, someone with a big bag. You need them to then show their hand, in which you've got selling imbalances taking place, and then the next candle below it, next to it, you then have still shorts entering the market. You have increasing open interest on more negative delta. It's more aggressive shorts, and then what they do is they push price to a position where, granted, it wasn't too much here, but they were more to the lows of the range somewhat, and then they push the price to an area where retail then, I've got something about those, retail then continue the move. So they've done their part, they've pushed it to a point where they feel comfortable, that then retail then continue the move downwards, which is why we've had this slow drag down. Then as soon as New York markets opened, every time what we were getting is you keep coming down, and then you'd find a little bit of buys, you'd find a little bit more support, but then ultimately the support would fail and you come down a little bit more. Then you've had the New York session really open at 6:30, and you had a ton of, just look at the volume difference. It was really nice to see during the session, and we were looking at some potential trade setups that one could possibly take. And you could see here you were having a load of buying taking place, and which is good to take you to what would have been a very close golden pocket. So if we pull it from the SFP to where we were, it was about here. You had a lot of buying taking place, but you don't have a setup there, and there's a lot of resistance and supports in this region. You've got a weekly level and the VWAP is there. So with that buying taking place, it can be a good signal to, okay, if we get to that area that we want to take the short, which would have been the golden pocket, if we get to that and then reject and really start to reject. I'm not saying like you're going to miss the move by a load, but if you start to then put these buys that are coming in underwater, it gives you then well-needed fuel to the downside. But instead, it did a mini SFP of this little high here, which is always a shame. I don't know if there's a day point of control at the time, but that's where it rejected from. But have we really taken out all of these traders here? I'm not sure. I think we've still got more in the tank to go down. Do I see a short right now? You could possibly, stop loss above this high, but it's a riskier. It's not a very good trade. But I just don't think we've got the legs yet to really push it to the upside. And yet we've got the liquidity here, trapped in this region on the chart, to probably take it down to the area that we were mentioning. I think Magic mentioned it, this golden pocket. Closes out the hourly PVA. We've got statistics on their close. It looks primed, to be fair. But yeah, you'd have to be cautious getting into a short right now. Whether we come up, take this high again and get into that golden pocket possibility. But it's besides the point at this point. We have to wait and see for what occurs. On Magic's topic of what happens when the TPO point of control shifts and the volume point of control does not. Now, I'm not going to go back and merge all these. It takes awfully long on Exo charts. It's a real pain in the arse. He can just pull a thing on ATS and get it all. But what it means effectively is, I'm going to use this one as an example, which is actually wrong. So theory states if I lower the tick here to 20, I might get a difference. Okay, so what we're looking at here is normally theory states, and it largely does play the role. So when I say this and it's the wrong way round, understand that normally you would expect a TPO market profile like this to then continue down. When you have the time in a specific area, so in this instance, the time point of control is above the volume point of control. Now, if you're using just TPO, theory states that if the volume is below it, you would continue down as there is more buying and transactional action down here than there was where you spent more time. So with the TPO point of control moving up and the volume staying down here, it's not a good look. You want it to you either want them to be synchronized or you want to spend a lot of time at the lows. And do you know what, Magic? I actually think it's not a bad thing. If you're getting buying at the lows and the time is just spending time there, it's not a good idea. But yeah, theory states it'd take more pondering on, and I'd have to merge all these charts and go through it. So I'll do that for tomorrow. But theory states if the time point of control is above the volume point of control, normally you're going to head down. But I will merge all of these and have a look at the thing tomorrow, because then I can zoom back into it and try and pick it apart a bit more. But yeah, that's what the theory states. So just be aware of that. But yeah, I actually don't really have too much else to say. Gone through today's price action, gone through what I expect for now. Don't really have too much else to say, CVO.
How was the gym?
Very good, mate. Always good.
It was. Max the MILF Hunter. It's a new one for you.
That can't run. That can't run.
You don't hunt cougars, bro. They hunt you.
Very true.
No.
They hunt you. Oh man, that's always a good one. Always good for a browse and a laugh with Max. So Ethereum, we're looking at the with the run up here as well. A little bit of a nice little move here. So yesterday, let's just kind of clear this up a little bit. What were we looking at? So we're dropping out of previous day range, and but what we were doing was that we were coming down, and we were. I'll zoom this in a little bit. Right, we had our previous week right here. So this was yesterday morning right here. We were doing a little dabbling, re-entering the previous week here a little bit. Where did we come down to? We came down to the weekly pivot, right? If I'm not mistaken, should be on there, and it is right here. Okay, 1204. So came down, tagged the weekly pivot, and then got back out of the range, back tested it, broke the VWAP. I mean, a good amount of legs up here. The one thing we were talking about yesterday, where if we were looking for some more upside, was to reclaim daily open. So that obviously took place as well. So that was definitely a trigger if you weren't paying attention at this area. On a 4-hour time frame, even though we did come in and live within this region for a bit on the 15-minute, if you look at the 4-hour, you pretty much just came down, wicked in, right, closed back above, and then took off from there. So that was definitely a nice, essentially just a nice clean breakout of previous week, back test, and then off we went, right? So taking a look at this now in our bigger range that we're in, we were living below the point of control, which is also a really high time frame point of control as well to get it over. So right now you're living above that, which is always a good sign. Potentially come back and back test it on a pullback, but we've almost really rotated this whole range in full. The high here comes in at 1271. Do have this gold pocket just overhead. I'm interested to see if we push higher and tag that at least in a short term before getting a decent pullback. I would imagine you're getting a lot of the thing is here too is that even if you're looking at this on the term of like an RSI, we're cooking, right? So you're talking about almost pushing 80 ETH. So anybody looking at this trying to short, it's one of those times where you could very well be shorting this rise for a bit until it kind of stops. The same thing happened with Solana as well. I have to imagine many people are trying to short that every every pullback they're getting right now, and just getting stopped out after stopped out after stopped out. Anyhow, targets to the upside for me, potentially we turn it around a little bit right here. This is a decent area. This is an area where we come into. This is resistance as well. But to push it up, and we already have technically rotated the range. So I mean, that is something to kind of keep in mind. As far as entering here, probably not the best idea, right? So I mean, at this point, if you hadn't entered yesterday off of some of those areas, or in from lower, you're really just kind of looking for potentially the next short opportunity, or if we get a pullback for the next long, right? So pretty diddling in the middle, so to speak. Next areas for potential short for me would be to see the reaction at this gold pocket if we get it. And then otherwise, similar with Bitcoin, right? If we kind of just cruise through this region, which a pullback is going to be likely at some point soon, right? Because like I said, we've been, just getting the business here for the last few days. You do have the quarterly level similar to Bitcoin, just below the recent high here. And that does come in like 13.16, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, right here, 13.16. So if you do start clearing this region, 13.16 is definitely, the next major area I'd be paying attention for. This does, almost come up to our high area here. So, I mean, it's definitely something to kind of keep in mind as well. Potentially we come up and actually take these highs, but these would be the next, the stair stepper, so to speak, in that case. So we talked about yesterday, really just, getting super ahead of ourselves. But, if you really start cruising through here, we have the overall golden pocket as well, up at like $1,400, right? So there's definitely some areas above us, but I would imagine a pullback is probably likely here in the next bit. And one of the big things too is that coming up to these areas and getting a decent rejection, you really want to be paying attention to see what the areas are that you don't want to lose. At the moment, coming back down, we got the monthly level that essentially was untapped until yesterday. So the first kind of sign of decent weakness here is going to be coming back down and, getting back below this 1233 essentially. You got the point of control just below that. And then you have a couple of areas, that we could really want to kind of hold on to. Yearly open is one of them, right? So if we start living back below yearly open, very similar with Bitcoin, I imagine the two of them would probably start cruising down to that region together. And that would then, we'd definitely be looking back towards lower the range and then potentially coming down, filling out some of these lower levels once again. Same areas apply. Untapped daily, big one down here at 1,038. Not to overlook the weekly at 1142. And yeah, I mean it's pretty cut and dry on that one. I feel like we've been talking about the same. This really wasn't a major move by any means. I mean, this is like a 1 or 2%. I'm sorry, 5%. So that's actually a pretty decent move. Feels like it's 1% at this point. Like the market's just, every day we come on here and it's like we're looking at a pretty nice little pump or a drop, and it's like 2%. So this one actually was a really nice move. Yeah, so want to hold on to 1232. I mean, that's the next area right below us. And otherwise, pay attention for this gold pocket coming in, 1281, 1282-ish. Clear that. And I think a really big area for potential, pullback would be if we don't get through the quarterly key level up here. So 1316 would be the next major one for me. Take a look at Solana and just kind of get an overview on that. Very, similar style here. We had a really nice, just pretty decent impulse move. Every step of the way here, you're getting this, push up and then consolidation. These are really big moves. So like I said, I'm sure a lot of people are getting wrecked trying to short this. This initial move was 50%. Anybody trying to short that got stopped out, right? Next major area yesterday, pushed up to like 73%. Everybody's probably shorting it right below this region right here, pushed up again. So it's up 80% right now, or it made it up to 80%. We do have a gold pocket right here at $15 that I have to imagine most are potentially looking for. So could we get it, potentially, but in the short term here, point of control was, the major target for me. Gold pocket does come in. This is just a local gold pocket. Now I'm just pulling this off of this recent high here. So, I mean, it really just kind of gave a little confluence with all these highs right here where everybody else was shorting from. I'm sure some aggressive shorts came in here, which once again, this is after a substantial drop. So anybody coming in with these, areas, not uncommon to come back up, take that out, and then continue to move lower. So otherwise, clearing the gold pocket, the daily for me is really the area I'd be looking to kind of claim. Once again, still would like to see a pullback before anything. Where we are currently, you got a nice little local gold pocket from the low to high coming in at this weekly level here, back down to like $9.99, $10 essentially. And that really starts for me if we start losing this 1326. I'm sorry, 1310, I think it is. Yeah. So 1310, get that loss, back test. I would say that, we're probably coming back down, revisiting some of these areas. Definitely, not something I'd be buying into by any means at the moment. Same thing if you're looking at an RSI, I mean, super overbought. Not that it can't continue though, right? So that's the thing. I think everybody's looking at, trying to catch this on a short. There was a lot of longs though, a lot of longs. I think don't quote me because I didn't check into it, but somebody said there was like almost 2 billion in longs or, something kind of outrageous. So definitely a lot of money to be, shook up if this just turns around and comes back lower. So otherwise, you still got a nice little slew of targets up here. I just don't know if we're going to see these quite yet, right? Because like I said, it's, potentially we come up here, take the highs, meet the gold pocket. That'd be a nice technical target, just kind of get a little reversal from, bring it all the way back down to this region. That would be a substantial drop, 30%, kind of clear the board a little bit. And then maybe take it up from there. But otherwise, still kind of looking over time, potentially down here to 631. Then you got the overall global point of control down here at 281 as well. So these are the areas I'd be looking for Solana. So right now I'd let it cool off, see how things kind of settle. I did notice that potentially, at least I took a small short just to test it because I know that they removed Solana from Bybit as far as on the perpetual contracts to be able to short. But I was able to do one last night just to test it out, short and long. So, I don't know if they just added it back or not.
Is that isolated or margin though?
Yeah, it was isolated. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, it definitely was gone. It was gone, like you said, because I did check into it, like a month ago when you said
they sent
that.
emails out and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if they re-added it, but I mean, and maybe that's something, a little risky to get into because if they're just going to be, dropping you off. But yeah, definitely able to short it, I guess, on Bybit and long. So I'm not to say that you should only short, but I bring that up for the ability to kind of look at and note that there's definitely some big trades happening on Solana, right? So not only on Binance anymore, because they did only have it on Binance for a bit as far as a leverage would go. But yeah, I think that's about all I really have today. Just a little bit of an update there. We've kind of been covering the areas and the levels, and now we're coming into them. That's usually how it goes, right? Kind of get the plan, the strategies in place. unfortunately, it's one of those times right this moment where we're kind of in the middle of a move, so to speak. So, you could, just kind of have to strategize your play here, right? So yesterday was a really nice day, kind of like how Magic was saying, we were doing some hunting. This was a really nice play on Ethereum to get that back test off of the previous week, right? So it took a little bit of time to decipher, but that was definitely the play. Then you had the new day open, right? Boom, got the small back test off of that as well, right? Not a back test, but launched essentially from it. So claimed the VWAP, day open, and off we went. So really, really nice price action. So at the moment, bounce off again. VWAP still hanging tight, hanging over the 0.5 fib. I think we might, challenge up into this gold pocket at least and stop everybody out. But that's not something I would be willing to enter at this moment if you're not already in a position. So $30 move. So, I mean, it is a decent little couple percenter, but I'd be looking more so for potential shorts up at these highs if you get it, or, start losing some of these areas, come back below the weekly, things of that nature. All right. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add before we finish up? I think that's about it. Nice, easy, breezy update.
I don't think so. I'm just tinkering with the Solana chart a little more now. I already have a Solana chart, but I'm tinkering with it now.
Nice.
Maybe I'll make a video on Solana.
Hey,
ultimate guide to shorting to zero.
It's popular. It's for sure.
Yeah, it's a popular term. That's why.
What exchanges you can still short it on? There you go.
I think you can still short it on FTX.
Oh, I'll find a login.
Yeah.
Find a login.
Don't even worry about logging in, bro. Just put in your password. Make sure it's the same password for all your other, exchanges, and then give them your social and stuff. KYC, of course. I guess you don't have a social. You don't do that where you're at, but however you guys identify over there. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's what your favorite.
You identify as men
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't talk any crap there. A man and a woman.
Men and women.
Yeah, I was gonna say they identify by their favorite flavor of beans and toast.
I don't know what social you identify as. It's men and women.
Well, for the man who can't grow any facial hair, I'll take that at face value, I guess.
Oh,
face value.
You see what I did there? He said his mustache was bothering him today, guys. I don't know if you can see it. But...
Yeah, dude, that mustache is looking gnarly.
Oh, God.
I can't decide if I'm gonna shave in 2023 yet. I might just let this go the whole year. I can't decide.
Yeah, just to rub it in.
Yeah, just go completely homeless.
Do it.
I like it. Do it till the XRP hits the $20. You should grow your beard till then.
I'll be like Santa.
I've got DMs. I got DMs after that show that are in my Twitter request, and they're from people that have XRP in their name. So I already know it's from that show, and really? I'm just not even going to accept them. I'm not even going to look at them. So if you DM'd me and it was something mean, I'm just not even going to look at it. I'm sorry.
No, that was a good show. Yeah, if you guys didn't catch that yesterday, Magic was on Sin City Crypto. Did a nice show. Had a little turmoil over his XRP chart, which everybody took the wrong way, man. It's always.
They asked what I think would happen if what would happen to price if they resolved the lawsuit and XRP won the lawsuit. And I was like, so this is an overnight thing. We're expecting what price to do. I was like, $9 at the max, because that's the overall range, point of control and TPO point of control and a merged value. So conservatively a 300% pump over time, and these guys are nope, straight to $20, and I'm like, that is not gonna happen. That's almost a 100x overnight. Do you not think that that's not realistic? How unrealistic can we be here? And that wasn't the people on the show, it was people in the chat, and then of course Max over there howling because he's the one who suggested the coin because he thought it would be funny. And then in the chat, and before the episode, I had told him if they make me cover XRP, it's going to stink because everybody's going to be, this guy doesn't do enough research. And of course, the very first thing this dude says is this guy hasn't done enough research. And Max is over there just laughing. Yeah, I was like, it's the same argument every time, man. I already know what they're going to say.
Feathers, man.
soon as
But
they
hey,
ruffling feathers.
as I say, and it's not to be rude, there is a diminishing return on research when you only look for research that supports your bias of getting insanely wealthy off of an overnight flip the switch speculative cryptocurrency. Come on, man. Like at some point you have to be able to take other people's opinions and at least argue against them. And the only thing they did was they started attacking Bitcoin, which I hadn't even brought up. I wasn't even like arguing Bitcoin was a better asset or anything. It was just immediately there. So I stand by what I said, that the XRP community is the worst community in all of crypto. And yeah, I might as well get that as a plaque in my background. People would come to my live streams just to talk shit to me, I'm sure.
You should get a plate, one of the bulletproof vests like Keeper and them have, and just be like, an anti-XRP army.
Yeah, no, I thought about it. I honestly should get a plate, and it says that what would it say about crypto? Magic Internet Money left crypto, and he hated this place and everyone in the XRP army. I just get that on the wall.
What's crazy about
that's a joke. I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't hate anyone. That's
what's crazy about XRP, man, is like it's just because it gets attention that like people make these assumptions, and that and like you said, they an abundance of over research, and you have coins that did the exact same thing, and in the last
communities like that.
Well, I mean, like without the communities, though, I'm just saying, like like Litecoin never made a new all-time high, got close, but never did it. Like it's same thing as XRP, right? Like when you're just looking at the actual technicals of why and how, it's like it's interesting because Tron is another one that just has gone nowhere, and it's just like doesn't have a huge like crazy over the top community. I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. You don't really hear about it, but Tron was another one. Neo was one. I mean, like basically all those coins from the only one that really sticks out is Litecoin. Like Litecoin and XRP. Litecoin without any.
That's because they're still large caps. That's why they stick out. They're still relevant to the market, so to speak. The other ones, like if I told someone about Bitcoin Cash that wasn't here in the last cycle, they'd go, "What is that?" They'd never heard of it. Probably BCH. I'd have to bring up Craig Wright and Satoshi, and maybe they're relevant to that scenario, but they might not. Like Max, do you know what Bitcoin Cash is? BCH? No. Yeah. So there's a guy that helped out write the code for Bitcoin with Satoshi named Craig Wright, and he forked the Bitcoin code and made Bitcoin Cash, and wanted to compete against Bitcoin, but it never took off, and it had an insane 2017 bull run. And it's still around technically. People still trade this thing. I get people that used to request this coin even in last cycle because they're bag holding from the prior cycle, and it never went to all-time highs. Yeah, but it's the same concept. I don't think Litecoin falls in that category personally, nor XRP. I don't think that those are like dead projects necessarily. Litecoin actually did the best thing ever, where the creator and founder of the foundation left. He sold all his stuff and he got out, and it was actually at the top in the first cycle, which is kind of messed up. But he did publicly tell people he was doing it. So it's not like he just set them up for failure. But now that there's no one running that, it's completely like it's decentralized. Like nothing, you can't really stop it unless, they shut down the internet at this point and people stop mining it or stop doing it. So Litecoin may have done something actually really good for itself in the future, but we'll see. In terms of like XRP though, man, like it's just another coin, guys. It's just another risk. It's just another risk asset. That's all it is. It's another risk asset. Doesn't mean you can't own it. Just understand that it's a risk asset and it can fail. And people, if they don't see that, that's an outcome that could happen. I think that they're investing very, very naively, because even in traditional markets, you have to understand that. Like look at all the companies from the .com era that were destined for greatness. WorldCom, AOL. These are all companies you've probably never even heard of, man. Like those things were some of the biggest companies in the world and in that space, and they're nowhere to be found now. Before Google was the supreme search engine, there were competitors like Ask Jeeves. If you're old enough, you know what I'm talking about. Like
used them back in the day.
So I mean, the space changes rapidly. So for people to say they're going to bag hold this thing for 50 years and it's going to go to $10,000 or 10 years, they don't even know if the space is going to be here in 10 years. There's no landscape for it. Bitcoin might not even be here. We don't know. Like it's one of those things where it's like, it's such a silly thing to argue about, and there's like no logic behind it. But, I put it on my Twitter. You can't really rationalize with an irrational person. And these guys are like emotionally invested into these assets. And I would advise anyone not to do that. Like if your whole personality now revolves around where you've put your money for an investment and you are going to require that investment to appreciate in value to maybe have a retirement or a shot at any kind of a real portfolio, I would consider diversifying a little bit, or maybe taking some risk out of the market just in case, because that is an completely boomer bust style of investing. And it generally you'll get a little bit of a boom. Like they had 10x last market cycle. It did 10x to like $1.95. But how many of those guys took profits? Almost none, so it's unfortunate. Sorry, not to rant, guys. If you're still here and you're watching this, all 16 of you, it's just one of those things where it's the reality. It's the reality of trading. Like you have to take profits and you have to diversify a little bit. And when I say that, I don't mean invest in all the other fucking cult companies that run on the same programs like XLM, XDC, XRP. One of these is going to make it. I don't know, man. It sounds like if one fails, they're all going to fail. Like you're in the same boat across the board. Like investing in all the companies that work in the same sector that are competing against the banks. Maybe one of them makes it, maybe one of them doesn't. Like I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket. I would have some in there for sure if you believe in it. Like definitely invest, but don't just be like so nearsighted that you only have tunnel vision for that. It's ridiculous. I do invest in gold a little. I own gold. I buy it physically. I don't buy anything about that. I am one of those people. I have physical gold and silver. So
Max, Max said you invest in gold chains.
I do have, so I buy, yeah, I do. I buy everything from troy ounces and stuff like that, and actual like grams, to buying pieces of jewelry if it's a good sale and it's the right weight in carat. So, yeah,
love carats.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever you want to do, because I think gold has got a decent upside over the coming years. Actually, the gold Bitcoin chart is very bullish. Gold has been crushing Bitcoin. I posted it in our traditional markets section at one point, but gold has been crushing Bitcoin if you were to pull them up together. But it also, gold did very well in comparison to other assets. It still went down in 2022, but it didn't go down nearly as much. And it does, gold and silver look okay. So I have been buying gold and silver in last year. And I've continued to buy a little bit towards the end of the year here. But yeah. Pax Gold, I haven't looked at it. I know there's some gold peg cryptos. I think that's what you might be referring to. Is that what we're after here? I'll take a look at it. I'll note the ticker and I'll look at it. I know you're in the group, so I'll put it in the group and we'll have a go at it. But yeah, otherwise I don't know. In terms of diversification, guys, like if you have questions about that, we did a segment on it. Well, I guess I could refer you guys back to that video. We need to have him on again. Trading best since like Kenneth Suna. Yeah, that was a great video. And he actually is very willing to come back on and like take more specific approaches on investing if you guys want, for free content, obviously. So if you guys are ever wondering, and he owns crypto too, not just traditional market stuff. But if you're ever wondering, like, how could I diversify in a safe way with a decent plan? He kind of tries to lay out at least the groundwork for a passive investor, not somebody who's like actively trading, obviously. And that's where he specializes. So I think that that would be a good segment to get him back on in the near future. Make a traditional market investing and diversification something maybe we touch on like once a month or once every couple weeks, because that people should be doing that. That's all I've got. Otherwise, we'll keep ranting, and you guys will probably have things to do. I know Max is dying to go walk his wiener. So, where is Badger?
Badger, come on, he's in his burrow.
He's in his burrow. He's a good lad. Every time I look at my dog, I think that in my head. He's a good lad.
That's not what I think when I look at my dog. I'm always like,
your dog sucks, man.
I'm like, you're so dumb.
Is he wearing a bow? He's got the leash on already, or is that the shit bag?
Little neck.
He's got his gang signs on. Yeah,
dude, tell me you bring him to the gym with you, because you definitely will have the hunt coming to you if that's the case.
Cannot. People are afraid of dogs.
Yeah. Are they afraid of dogs over there? I was wondering if a lot of people have dogs in that area in Dubai.
A lot of people have dogs, but it's like Muslims they consider them dirty. So
Oh,
A lot
interesting.
of
I
the,
didn't know that.
yeah, a lot of the Asian population and stuff don't like them.
Interesting.
Makes sense. All right, guys, we're gonna cut it off here. But
45 minutes.
yeah, a nice 15-minute just peek into the day of here. So everybody have a great afternoon. If you're interested in joining the Leading Crypto Discord server, our information is in the description box below. You can also go to our website, leadingcrypto.io. It does have a link to our free Discord there as well. Information and things of that nature you can all find there also. So at leadingcrypto.io. Otherwise, we'll see you all tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, back here again. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're on this beautiful world. And until the next time, everybody, cheers.